Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you here. Yes, I am your host, Andrew Rogers, and this is episode 31 of Season 2 of TST Total Sports Talk. Really glad you could be here, and thank you very much for tuning in and checking out another episode. I'm hoping you're enjoying these episodes each and every week. I do my best to try and put them together as best I can and present the best product possible. So I'm hoping you enjoy it, and I will continue to bring you them. A little shake up in the order of the show today, so just keep that in mind as we go along here. First thing we would normally do is just talk about some stuff that we have been talking about, which are we've been talking about the Intercounty Baseball League, and we've been talking about the World Hockey Championships. That is over. However, the World Hockey Championships, they finished up. We wrapped that on last week's episode. But this week, we're also, so what we're going to do is we're going to take where we would normally stick our OHL and Canadian Hockey League segment. We're going to switch that to the Intercounty Baseball League segment. That'll come up after the Senior B North Stars segment, Owen Sound Senior B North Stars. And we're going to put a wrap on the Canadian Hockey League. The Memorial Cup Tournament ended this past week. We're going to do that first. We're going to do that right now for you. So our first order of business, though, was the final round robin game that took place this past Wednesday, and it was between the Regina Pats and the Swift Current Broncos with a berth in the semifinal on the line. If Swift Current won, it was a tiebreak. However, that did not happen in this case. Regina Pats with a 6-5 victory over the Swift Current Broncos. Nick Henry had the hat trick. Sam Steele recorded a record-tying 5 assists in a Memorial Cup game as the Pats, like I said, are victorious 6-5. The Regina Pats and the Hamilton Bulldogs and the Acadie Bathurst Titan all finish the round robin at 2-1. And it's the Regina Pats that will play the Hamilton Bulldogs in a semifinal game on Friday, while the winner will get the Acadie Bathurst on Sunday in the championship. Which, as mentioned, so we have the semifinal. It went on Friday between the Regina Pats and the Hamilton Bulldogs, and it was Sam Steele, second of the tournament, that put the Regina Pats up 3-1 with 6 minutes to play. Regina Pats, the host team, hanging on for the 4-2 win, and they will play against Acadie Bathurst in the final on Sunday. It was quite the game. Max Paddock was absolutely unreal for the Regina Pats in the victory. It was heartbreak all around for the Hamilton Bulldogs as their Memorial Cup comes to an end. Moving on now to our final, and it was Acadie Bathurst shutting out the host Regina Pats. 3-0 was the final. Acadie goaltender Evan Fitzpatrick making 28 saves for the shutout. Adam Holwell's second of the tournament was the game winner as the Acadie Bathurst Titan, for the first time in their 49-year franchise history, are your Memorial Cup champions. So yes, an incredible tournament by Acadie Bathurst, and they are your 2018 Memorial Cup champions. And like I said, that puts a wrap on the Canadian Hockey League season officially, as we celebrate the Hamilton Bulldogs, your OHL champions for the first time in their history. It is the Swift Current Broncos, the champions of the Western Hockey League, and the Acadie Bathurst Titan. Not only are they the Quebec Major Hockey League champions for 2018, but they are also your 2018 and 100th Memorial Cup champions. So congratulations all around to those and to those individuals who won individual awards in the stat categories. Congratulations all around, and kudos on an absolutely unbelievable season from all of you. So thank you very much for that, and it's been a pleasure covering everything CHL this past season. And you know what? Hey, if TST is still going, we'll make sure to include it the next time around for sure. Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with your Owen Sound Liuna Local 1059 Senior B North Stars report. Stick around. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. We've reached a point in the program where we want to talk about your Owen Sound Senior B Liuna Local 1059 North Stars out of the Ontario Senior B Lacrosse League. The Owen Sound North Stars, they've gotten off to a nice start, 2-1 through 3 games. They had 2 games this past week, and there were a couple games in the rest of the league. Let's get you caught up on the happenings of the OSBLL this past week. We start with your Owen Sound Senior B North Stars having their home opener against the Kitchener Velocity at the Harry Lumley Bayshore. And it was the North Stars coming out on top. 9-6 was the final. The win has Owen Sound improving to 3-1 on the season, while the Kitchener Velocity fall to 0-4. For your North Stars, leading the way, Pat Saunders had an absolute beast of a game. He had 4 goals and 2 assists, good for 6 points. Travis Zabalix adding 2 goals and 2 assists for 4 points. Curtis Gibbons with a goal and 2 assists for 3. Robbie Milnes with 3 assists. Lachlan Elder and Andy Campbell both adding a goal apiece, while Todd Greer, Sean Lance, Wyatt Barfoot, Ken Colson, Tyler Gibbons, and Zach Tompkinson all had 1 assist apiece. Ryan Oldreeve, getting the start for the North Stars, had the win. He stopped 19 of 27 in the victory. Meanwhile, on the Kitchener side, they fall to 0-4 through 4 games this season. It was Tony Dockstader leading the way with Davis Prince. They both had 3 points apiece. Henry Archie had 2 points, along with Ryan Carruthers and Tyler Woodman. And meanwhile, on adding a point apiece was Josh Fenton, Richard Hahn, Curtis Oldham, and Scott Hummel. The shots, like I said, overall 35-27, with the faceoffs being 9-6 in Owen Sound's favor. Velocity goaltender Josh Falkenstern allowed all 9 goals. He stopped 26 of 35 in the loss. But like I said, Owen Sound out in top in this one. 9-6 was your final. Then this past weekend on Saturday, we had the Ennismore James Gang taking on the Kitchener Velocity. It was Ennismore routing the KW Velocity 18-4. Ennismore improving to 2-4 on the season, while Kitchener falls to 0-5. For Ennismore, it was Cole McWilliams, Dan Michelle, Josh Gilray, Cody McMahon, all with 6-point nights, as Ennismore, like I said, routs Kitchener. A huge victory for them. 18-4 was the final. Next up for your Owen Sound Senior B Liuna Local 1059 North Stars was a matchup on this past Sunday between the North Stars and the visiting Six Nations Rivermen at the Harry Lumley Bayshore. Six Nations coming out on top 10-7. This was a rematch of the 2017 OSBLL Championship. Like I said, Six Nations coming out on top 10-7 in this one. They improved to 4-1, while Owen Sound falls to 3-2. For the North Stars, again, Pat Saunders leads the way, 2-1 for 3, good for 3 points on the night. Zach Thompson with 3 assists on the evening. Todd Greer with 2. Curtis Gibbons with a goal and an assist. Lachlan Elder with a goal and an assist. You had Mike McLeod with a single, Sean Lance with a single, Tyler Simmons and Zach Tompkinson both adding a point apiece. While on the other side for the Rivermen, it was Brendan Muse and Roger Weiss, both with the hat trick. Race Weiss had 4 assists, while Joe Miracle Jr. with 3 assists. Kessler Doolittle with a goal and an assist. Rod Squire, 2 goals on the night. Riley Johnson with a goal, and Josh Byers with an assist. The player in the game for your Senior B North Stars was Lachlan Elder. The shots were the Owen Sound North Stars 40 and the Rivermen 31, and the faceoffs 9-6 for the Owen Sound Senior B North Stars. Tyler Glebe getting the start for the North Stars. He gets the loss, 21-31, while Warren Hill for the Rivermen gets the win, stopping 33 of 40 in the Rivermen net. On the other side, you had your other matchup for Sunday had Ennismore. They were routed by the Oakville Titans. 17-4 was the final. Ennismore falling to 2-5, while Oakville improves to 4-1. They sit atop these standings. We'll get to that in a moment with the Six Nations Rivermen. For Oakville, Dan Craig had 6 points, 2 goals, 4 assists, while Brandon Slade continues his torrid pace, a goal and 3 assists, good for 4 points. As like I said, as mentioned, we look at your OSBL standings. You have the Oakville Titans out in front, 4-1 on the year with Six Nations Rivermen right there at 4-1. Owen Sound at 3-2 in the number 3 spot. You have the Brooklyn Merchants at 2-1 in the 4. Ennismore James Gang at 2-5. Kitchener Velocity at 0-5 are in the number 6 spot. Looking ahead now to your upcoming schedule for the week. It starts Friday, June the 1st. You have the Owen Sound North Stars at home against the Kitchener Velocity. That goes at 8 o'clock. And then on Saturday, June the 2nd, it'll be Ennismore it would be Oakville Titans in Ennismore to take on the James Gang. That's at 7. Also on Saturday has Six Nations visiting Oshawa to take on the Brooklyn Merchants. That's a 7 o'clock start. And then on Sunday, June the 3rd, 2 matchups. You have Ennismore at Kitchener and Brooklyn at Oakville. Those are both 7 o'clock starts. Yes, so the OSBLL continues to impress. A lot of great games, a lot of great action. Like I say, the Owen Sound Senior B Liuna Local 1059 North Stars. One game this week. It's at home against the Kitchener Velocity on Friday. And also, side note, they have their a golf tournament at Scenic City honoring the Woodsmen on Saturday. So if you haven't already signed up for that, make sure you do. I think there's a limited amount of spots available, so make sure you check that out. It should be a ton of fun. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back, and we'll start with our Intercounty Baseball League segment. So check that. That'll be fun. We'll be right back after this. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. We've reached a point in the program now where we'd like to introduce our segment on the Intercounty Baseball League. Yes, that's right, Intercounty Baseball League. It's a fantastic league, and if you haven't seen a game, boy, you're missing out. These games are very high intense, and they're a lot of fun, really, for you and the entire family, and for anybody who really likes baseball. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, make sure to check any of the games out. Full schedules on their website, Intercounty Baseball League, and check that out. And if you're in the area of where Intercounty Baseball League game is going on, make sure to get down and check it out. So what we want to do now is give you a recap of the week that was, give you an idea of the standings, and tune you up for this upcoming week in the Intercounty Baseball League. Here we go. First up, we had we got the week started on Thursday, May the 24th. It was the Kitchener Panthers up against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Kitchener coming out on top 9-7 in the game was the final. Kitchener improving to 4-2, while Toronto falls to 4-1. It's their first loss of the season. Mike Gordner and Colin Gordner both had massive games for the Kitchener Panthers. Mike going 2 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBIs, while his brother Colin went 2 for 4 with a home run of his own and 2 RBIs. Like I said, Kitchener handing Toronto their first loss of the season. A 9-7 win was the final. We continue now with Friday, May the 25th. One game on the schedule as the London Majors down the Brantford Red Sox 5-3. London improving to 2-3 on the season, while Brantford falls to 0-2. For the London Majors, it was Chris McQueen and Ed Salcido, both with 3 hits apiece in the win. Like I said, London improving to 2-3, while Brantford falls to 0-2. Final score in this one was 5-3. Moving on now to your Saturday action, there were 3 games on the schedule. First up, it was the Barrie Baycats against the Hamilton Cardinals. Barrie coming out on top 11-4 was the final. Barrie improving to 4-0. They are undefeated. Hamilton falls to 1-2. Barrie's Kevin Atkinson had himself a game. He goes 2 for 3 with a home run and 5 RBIs in the game. Like I said, Barrie improving to 4-0 with an 11-4 win. In another matchup, we had Toronto Maple Leafs improving to 5-1 with a 6-3 victory over 0-5 Burlington. Maple Leafs getting home runs from Mike Reeves, Jonathan Salazzo, and Damon Topoli in a 6-3 win. As mentioned, they improved to 5-1. They are off to a hot start. And then finally on Saturday, our last game was the London Majors blanking the Guelph Royals 9-0. London improving to 500 with they sit at 3-3 through 6 games, while Guelph is at 0-2. Starling Peralta had himself a gem. He pitched 8 shutout innings, allowing 7 hits. He had 1 walk. He struck out 6. Again, like I said, London back to 500 with a 9-0 victory. On Sunday in the IBL, you had the Barrie Baycats they fall to the London Majors. 10-4 was the final. London improving to 4-3, while the Barrie Baycats lose their first of the year, 4-1 on the season thus far. You had for the Majors, Ed Salcido, 1-3, 2 RBIs, a home run, and Mike Ambrose went 1-3. He also drove in a pair of runs. London upsetting Barrie. 10-4 was the final. Second game on the schedule had the Brantford Red Sox against the Guelph Royals. Royals coming out on top, winning their first of the season, a 3-2 victory. Sean Riley of the Guelph Royals went 3 for 4 with an RBI, while Junior Yambatis pitched 7 1/3 innings pitched. He only allowed 1, didn't walk any, and struck out 5 in the gem. For the Guelph Royals, like I said, they went 3-2. Burlington was downed at the hands of the Kitchener Panthers. They've lost their first 6 games of the season. Kitchener improving to 5-2. 12-3 was the final. Keegan Marsden had himself a day, 2 for 3, couple home runs, 4 RBIs for Keegan, while Brian Burton also went yard. He went 1 for 5 in the game. His lone hit, a home run for Kitchener. And then your final game on Sunday had the Hamilton Cardinals upset the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was Hamilton improving to 2-2, while Toronto drops to 5-2, a 10-8 final in this one. For the Hamilton Cardinals, it was Jake Chiravalli, 4 of 6 with a home run and 3 RBIs, while Connor Bowie went 3 of 6 with a home run and an RBI for the Cardinals. And then moving on, the final game of this past week came yesterday between the Hamilton Cardinals and the Guelph Royals. Guelph improving to 500 with a 2-2 record on the year after an 11-4 victory. Hamilton falls to 2-3. 8 of 9 Royal starters have at least a hit in an 11-4 win. Catcher Brendan Keys goes 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs, while first baseman Sean O'Reilly went yard for his first home run of the season. He was 1 for 4. Switching over now to your standings, you have the Barrie Baycats, the Kitchener Panthers, and the Toronto Maple Leafs up at the top. Barrie at 4-1, Kitchener and Toronto at 5-2. The London Majors 1 game back at 4-3. You have the Guelph Royals at 2-2, a game and a half behind. Hamilton 2 games behind at 2-3. Burlington at 0-6 are 4.5 back, and Brantford at 0-3 are 3 games back. As we take a look at the games upcoming for your upcoming schedule this week, a lot of games on the schedule. First, we start Wednesday, May 30th. You have Kitchener at Toronto. That's at 7:30. Guelph is at Barrie at 7:30. On Thursday, May 31st, a couple games on the schedule there. Brantford is in Burlington at 7:15. Barrie is in Kitchener at 7:30. Friday's game, June 1st, between London and Hamilton has been postponed. That was supposed to be a 7:30 start. It will be rescheduled, I'm sure. On Saturday, June the 2nd, 3 games on the schedule. Brantford is in Barrie, London is in Burlington, and Toronto is in Guelph. The Brantford-Barrie game, a 7 o'clock start. London-Burlington, 1:05. Toronto-Guelph at 1. On Sunday, June the 3rd, Barrie is in Brantford at 2 o'clock. Burlington and Hamilton at 2. Kitchener is in London at 1:05. And Guelph is in Toronto at 2. And then finally, on Tuesday, June 5th, the week wraps. Kitchener is in Barrie at 7:30. And Burlington visits Guelph at 7:30 as well. This has been all for your Intercounty Baseball League segment for this week's episode of TST. And there'll be plenty more week after week until the season comes to an end. So we look forward to covering that right here. Total Sports Talk. We'll be right back. We'll take one break and we'll come back with your NHL segment on the other side. Stick around for that. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. We've reached a point in the program now where we want to talk about the National Hockey League, and the 2018 Stanley Cup Finals are set, and they're a game in. But who are the opponents? Well, let me fill you in on that. But first, there was one series to be decided. That was on the Eastern Conference side between the Washington Capitals and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's see how that shook out. Yes, it was the Washington Capitals finally breaking through a 4-0 victory in game number 7. Alex Ovechkin's 12th of the playoffs came a minute into the game as the Capitals controlled the game from the start, cruising to a 4-0 win. Braden Holtby stopping 29 for his second straight shutout, and they will move on. They defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning in 7 games. Yes, they win this series finally, and they will return to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 1998. Yes, 20 years. 20 years ago, Washington was in the playoffs. They were swept at the hands of the 1998 Stanley Cup winning Detroit Red Wings. So yes, we move on. Washington Capitals, Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas getting home ice in this series. This series is already 1 game in, and it happened on Monday, and the Vegas Golden Knights actually came out on top in the first game of the series. A 6-4 victory in game number 1. Vegas using 2 goals from Thomas Nosek to come back from a 4-3 deficit in the third period to down the Caps 6-4. Vegas now leading 1-0 heading into game 2, which will go Wednesday. As you can see here by the schedule, Wednesday, May 30th at 8 o'clock in Vegas. Tonight is game number 2. Game number 3 will then go Saturday, June the 2nd, when the series shifts to Washington. Game 4 will then go Monday, June the 4th at 8 o'clock in Washington as well. Game 5, when the series shifts to Vegas, if necessary, will go Thursday, June 7th, also at 8. Game 6, if necessary, will then go back to Washington Sunday, June the 10th at 8 o'clock. And then Game 7, again, if necessary, Wednesday, June the 13th in Vegas, because they have home ice in the Stanley Cup Finals. Moving on, now we want to take a look quick at your TST NFL or NHL Playoff Bracket Challenge. The key component that you need to know here is that Blake B currently leads the NHL Playoff Bracket Challenge. He has 230 points. In this scenario, he cannot finish any lower than second place, and he could finish as high as first, obviously, and he could finish no lower than second. Paul I and Butch C, this is an interesting scenario. They could finish in a tie for third, or they could stay in their respective positions. They could finish in a tie for third either way. The 2 that are alive still are AR2 with 180 points. He has Vegas winning. And Sean R at 160 has the Washington Capitals winning. Sean R, though, can finish no higher than second, meaning Blake B would win in the number 1 spot. But AR2 could win the pool, and Blake B would be forced then into second place, and Paul I and Butch C would then go to a tiebreaker in the number 3 spot. But yes, as we say, the Vegas-Washington series has been absolutely incredible. 1 game in, and it was just outstanding, the game between these 2 teams. And the rest of the series, if it's any indication, should be very good as well. So we look forward to that, definitely. Over on the AHL side, we had the Rockford IceHogs going up against the Texas Stars in the West side. Texas winning 4-2 was the final 4-2 in the series. 4 of these games needed overtime. Texas winning 3 of them. Rockford winning 1, but it was Texas carrying a 3-0 lead into game number 4, but having Rockford storm back to take the next 2, forcing a game 6. Ultimately, Texas moving on, winning the Western Conference title for the first time in third time in their franchise history. Third time. I apologize. And their opponent, of course, as we know, are the Toronto Marlies. They swept away the Lehigh Valley Phantoms 4-0, 4-0, with victories of 4-3, 3-2 in overtime, 5-0, and 3-1. This should be an absolutely incredible series between these 2 teams, the Texas Stars and the Toronto Marlies. This series gets underway, as you can see, on Saturday. Toronto Marlies with home ice. They were the best team in the AHL this year. On Saturday, June the 2nd, Game 1 will emanate from Ricoh Coliseum at 4 o'clock. Then Sunday, June the 3rd, 4 o'clock as well in Toronto for Game 2. Tuesday, June 5th, Thursday, June 7th, and Saturday, June 9th will be Games 3, 4, and 5, all at 8 o'clock in Texas. Game 6, if necessary, will then go Tuesday, June 12th in Toronto, at 7, and Game 7 will go Thursday, June 14th at 7 in Toronto again, if necessary. But yes, the NHL playoffs are coming to a wrap, and as well as the AHL playoffs, Toronto Marlies have an opportunity to win their first ever Calder Cup championship in franchise history. It would be quite an accomplishment, and it would really say a lot for the way this Toronto Maple Leafs franchise is. Their future looks very bright if the Marlies can pull this off and capture the AHL championship this year. So we'll give you all the recaps on what happened at this time next week. So that should be a lot of fun. Look forward to that episode. I can tell you that much. We're going to take a little break here, and we'll come back on the other side, talk to you about the NBA story. Stick around. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. We've reached a point in the program now, though, where we want to talk about the NBA. The NBA finals are set. Yes, that's right. We have our combatants. But first, we needed to decide who they were between the two series on both sides. We start with the Western Conference Final. Yes, it was Golden State over the Houston Rockets, 101-92, as this series went 7. Golden State Warriors prevailing, however. Kevin Durant scoring 34 points. Warriors rally from a 15-point deficit to down the top-seeded Houston Rockets, 101-92. There was a point in the game where the Houston Rockets missed 27 consecutive three-point attempts. They went absolutely cold, but it was the Warriors prevailing. Yes, the Golden State Warriors reached the NBA Final for a 4th consecutive season, and they will host Game 1 of the NBA Finals, which will go Thursday night. Their opponents on the Eastern Conference side, from the Eastern Conference side, will be the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's right, LeBron James is back in the NBA Finals again for an 8th straight season. 87-79 in game number 7 was the final. LeBron going off for 35 points, 15 boards, 9 assists. Jeff Green chipping in with 19 points and 8 boards. Like I said, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers' 4th straight finals appearance and 5th. They have a chance at a 5th NBA. It's their 5th NBA Finals appearance, all with LeBron James on the team. Warriors, like I said, they will host game number 1 of the NBA Finals, which play out like this. This series will get underway Thursday, May the 31st at 9 o'clock in Golden State for game number 1. Game number 2 will then go Sunday, June 3rd at 8 in Golden State. Wednesday, June 6th will be game number 3 from Cleveland at 9 o'clock. Game number 4 will then go Friday, June the 8th at 9. Monday, June 11th, we'll see the series shift to Golden State for game number 5. That'll be at 9 o'clock if necessary. Thursday, June 14th at 9 o'clock in Cleveland will be game 6 if necessary. And then Sunday, June 17th, game number 7 at 8 o'clock in Golden State if it happens to get that far. But yes, again, like I said, it's Cleveland, Golden State again. 4th consecutive time these two teams have met in the NBA Finals. Golden State Warriors winning in 2015 and 2017, while the Cleveland Cavaliers winning in 2016. So Cleveland ultimately looking to draw even in the last 4 seasons. They can do that with a win, obviously. But it's got to be, it's downright impressive, the fact that LeBron James has taken this Cleveland Cavaliers, arguably one of the worst Cavaliers teams he's ever taken to the NBA Finals in his career. So it's quite impressive, and you got to admire what he's doing. But again, at what point though does it become a little bit boring seeing the same two teams in the NBA Finals? Or does it? Maybe it doesn't. But again, it would have been nice to see a fresh-faced team like the Houston Rockets in the NBA Final. It would have been their first Finals appearance since 1995. So that would have been very impressive, but ultimately they come up short. Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavaliers, NBA Finals, they get underway on Thursday in Golden State. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with your Major League Baseball story and your Toronto Blue Jays report. Stick around. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. Reach the point in the program now where we want to talk about the Major League Baseball story, and more specifically your Toronto Blue Jays, who are struggling. If their record is any indication, they are in a free-fall mode. We will get to more on that in a moment, but first we want to wrap the week that was, give you an idea of where everybody stands in the standings, both the American League and the National League, and we'll tee you up for the week upcoming for your Toronto Blue Jays. But yes, first the week that was for your Blue Jays. They started with the second game in a three-game set against the Los Angeles Angels. A 5-4 loss from the Blue Jays to the Angels was the final. Angels scoring 4 in the top of the ninth to stun the Blue Jays, 5-4. Jays holding a 4-1 lead in the ninth. Tyler Clipper come on to try and close it out, and he allows all 4 runs to score and gets the loss ultimately. Devin Travis and Jarvis Solarte go deep for the Blue Jays, but they ultimately lose this one. 5-4 was the final. Moving on, the second game of the next game in the week for the Blue Jays was the end of a 3-game set against the Los Angeles Angels, and in a lackluster performance from the Jays. 8-1 was the final for the Angels. They improved to 28-22, while the Jays fall to 23-27 after 50 games this season. They are an abysmal 4 games under 500. Angels taking 2 or 3 from the Jays. Like I said, 8-1 win. Mike Trout and Albert Pujols both go deep for the Angels, while Nick Tropiano strikes out 6 in 7 1/3 innings for the Angels. He was very dominant and very good on this afternoon for the Angels, and an 8-1 win over the Blue Jays. Jays then would move on. They would take on they would start a 3-game series in Philadelphia against the Philadelphia Phillies. They would win that first game, a score of 6-5. Blue Jays improving to 24-27, while the Phillies fall to 28-20. Jays scoring 3 in the first inning, and also in the 5th inning, they hold on for the 6-5 win. Justin Smoak had a nice evening for the Jays, going 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBIs in the victory. 6-5, like I said, was the final. Second game of the 3-game set against the Phillies saw the Jays fall. 2-1 was the final. Phillies improving to 29-20, while the Jays fall to 24-28. Nick Williams' third pitch hit home run of the season broke a 1-1 tie in the bottom of the 8th inning. It came off of Jays reliever Joe Biagini. It was the difference in this one as the Phillies edged the Jays 2-1. Aaron Nola was very sharp for the Phillies, ultimately getting a no decision, but he took a no-hitter into the 7th. He struck out 10 in his outing. He was very, very effective for the Phillies on this afternoon. Jays would then wrap a 3-game set, and they would take 2 of 3 against the Phillies. A 5-3 win this past Sunday. Jays improving to 25-28, while the Phillies fall to 29-21. They have J.A. Happ to thank for that. He struck out 8 over 6 2/3 innings, giving up 6 hits, allowing 2 runs, 2 walks to win his 7th game of the season. Devin Travis goes 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Like I said, Jays taking 2 of 3 from the Phillies. A 5-3 victor in this one. Jays would then start a 3-game set this past Monday against the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox coming out on top 8-3 was the final. Red Sox improving to an MLB best 37-17, while the Jays fall to 25-29. Aaron Sanchez falls to 2-5, while David Price improves to 5-4. Andrew Benintendi hit a 3-run home run in a 5-run 4th inning. That was ultimately the difference. Like I said, Red Sox routing Jays 8-3. Benintendi goes 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs and a home run, while JD Martinez goes 1 for 3 with a home run and 2 RBIs. Josh Donaldson, that was the big concern for the Blue Jays in this one. He left the game in the 5th inning from what the team is calling a left calf strain. He will be reevaluated and could be potentially posted onto the disabled list. The Jays would then wrap their week that was yesterday, a evening game against the Red Sox. Red Sox coming out on top by an identical 8-3 score, taking the first two from the Blue Jays. They improve to a Major League best 38-17, while the Jays fall to 5 games under 500 at 25-30. Rick Porcello was a beast for the Red Sox on the mound. He struck out 5 over 6 2/3 innings, only allowing 5 hits and 2 runs. He improves to 7-2, while catcher Sandy Leon went 3 for 4 for the Red Sox. He had a home run and 3 RBIs, also scoring 2 runs. Marco Estrada falls to 2-6 on the year. He allowed 4 runs on 7 hits, striking out only 1 in 3 2/3 innings. But yes, like I said, the Jays falling to 25-30 on the season. As we look now at your standings, we start in the American League. Red Sox, like as mentioned, 38-17. They have a 2-game advantage over the Yankees, who have a record of 34-17. Tampa Bay have the 3rd spot, 27-26. Toronto Blue Jays 25-30. Baltimore at 17-38. Over in the AL Central, you have the Cleveland Indians leading the division by 4.5 games over both Detroit and Minnesota. Cleveland have a 28-25 record. Tigers at 24-30. Minnesota Twins at 22-28. Kansas City Royals 19-36. White Sox 16-36. And over in the AL West, the powerhouses really of the American League. You have the Houston Astros at 35-21, 1 game better than the Seattle Mariners at 33-21. LA Angels hanging in there, 30-25, 4.5 behind the Astros. Oakland at 28-27, 6.5 behind, and then the Texas Rangers at 23-34, not threatening Houston in that one. Over in your National League standings, you have Atlanta at 32-22, leading the NL East over the Washington Nationals 31-22, a half game behind. Philadelphia Phillies still staying in there at 30-22, 1 game back. New York Mets at 26-26, 5 games behind. And then Miami Marlins at 20-34, 12 games behind. Over in the NL Central, Milwaukee Brewers continue to lead. They have a 3.5 game cushion over the Chicago Cubs. St. Louis Cardinals, 4 game cushion over them. Milwaukee at 35-21 lead the NL Central. Pittsburgh at 28-26, 6 games behind. Cincinnati at 19-37. They have 16 games to make up. And then over in the NL West, finally, Colorado Rockies at 30-25. They are a 1.5 game back of, a 1.5 game cushion over the Arizona Cardinals. That's at, they're at 1.5 games behind at 28-26. So you have the Dodgers at 25-29, 4.5 back. San Francisco 25-35 and back, and San Diego 23-33. They have some room to make up, evidently there, as we look again at the week upcoming. For your Toronto Blue Jays, they continue their 3-game set this afternoon with a matchup against the Boston Red Sox. That goes at 1:05. Starters for your Red Sox are Eduardo Rodriguez, looking for his 6th win of the season, while the Jays counter with Sam Gaviglio, who's looking for his 3rd win, opposed to no losses. He's been very sharp in his starts this season. Jays, once they're finished the series with the Red Sox, will have Thursday off before starting a 3-game set in Detroit against the Tigers. That'll go Friday, June 1st, Saturday, June 2nd, and Sunday, June the 3rd. Starters for your Tigers are projected to be Blaine Hardy, Matt Boyd, and Michael Fulmer. While on the Jays side, you'll have Jaime Garcia, J.A. Happ, and Aaron Sanchez. And then the Jays will have Monday, June the 4th off before starting a 2-game set against the New York Yankees at the Rogers Center. First game will be Tuesday, June the 5th, and then second will be Wednesday, June the 6th. Projected starters in that one, Sonny Gray, Masahiro Tanaka for the Yankees, while the Jays will counter with Marco Estrada and Sam Gaviglio. Yes, so that is your Toronto Blue Jays report for this week on TST. We'll take one final break, and we'll come back and we'll wrap the show on the other side. Stick around for that. We'll be back after this. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you very much for watching. Thank you for continuing to tune in week after week. I really hope you're enjoying each and every episode of TST, so thank you for that. If there's anything that you guys want to see me cover on TST, please drop me a line at any of the following social media addresses and stuff. I have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook page, YouTube channel. any and all means necessary, try and get a hold of me if you want to see me cover a league specific, a team specific, any of the other, and we'll try and get you on, and we'll try and cover that league. There's a lot going on all the time, and I'm trying to fill what's coming out, like the Intercounty Baseball League. That's going to be a big staple here for the foreseeable future until they're finished. So I'm really looking forward to that. But again, like the NBA finals are coming to a close. They're about to get started. They're going to go for probably about a week and a half or 2 weeks or so. And then you got the NHL finals. They're underway. They're 2 games in after tonight. So like these things are going to end, and I'm going to need something to talk about in those spots. So if you have any recommendations, by all means, drop me a line, and I'll make sure to get that on there. But as for this week, I'm putting a wraps on it. Andrew Rogers signing off, your host for TST Total Sports Talk, Season 2, Episode 31. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time right here on TST. Take care, folks.